I lost the people I had, but I'm going to try this again. We have some real trolls on YouTube. So what I am going to discuss is the Furmans. They were a Nashville family, a very wealthy Nashville family. Mr. Furman was born in the 1800s, early 1800s in Pennsylvania. His wife was born in the early 1800s in Ireland. They fell in love, they brought her brother, and they came down to Nashville. When they did that, y'all, I ended that live because I got bullied. Dadgum. What the heck? Y'all are terrible. Some of these folks are terrible. I put them in a timeout. Anyways, maybe they'll come back. Let me see if they will find me again. Just wanted to ditch the trolls. Hi. Maybe the others will find us here. You didn't say anything mean, so I'm going to hope that you're okay. You were kind enough over on the other. You're addicted to gaming, huh? What do you like to game with? What games do you play? Do you want to hear about the drama? Okay, awesome. So I came on here tonight because I made a promise last week that I would tell about the drama from the 1800s. Now, I was really careful. The family 3 generations back are gone. Hello, Emilio. What happened is that Dad was a dry goods salesman. He was born in Pennsylvania. Mary Jane was born in Ireland. They fell in love in Pennsylvania. They came down here in 1850. And I say down here, they came down to Nashville, Tennessee in 1850. When that happened, he set up a dry goods shop. They worked really, really hard, and there are several people in here. I'm hoping they're all friendly because it's really hard for me to gauge that at this point, but I'm hoping they're all friendly. So who all is in here? Because the names are not coming by. Can you tell me who's in here? Can y'all see who's in here? Is there a way for me to see who's in here? Whoop, I lost my lighting. I know it says 16 people, but like on other platforms, it tells you who is coming into the room. On this one, I'm not seeing it. Is there a way to do that? Yeah, I knew 16 people, absolutely. Yep. Oh, now we're down to 11. Some people went, nope, don't like her, and they left. That's okay. All right, so anyways, I'm going to tell you the drama. We're just going to get straight to it, and I'm going to kind of just kind of give you the quick of it. So what happened is they moved here. Dad gets to 83 years old. He's older. He has a stroke. He passes away. Mom she had one son who survived to adulthood. They are now at home. They're on downtown Nashville, basically, in their home. And the son is on the autistic spectrum, so she knows she needs some help. She has actually been an invalid for 3 years. She knows she can't take care of it, so she calls in her brother and her nephew to come over to help. Knowing that her son is just struggling so hard, she says, hey, could we get, you guys are not too far in age, could you please keep an eye on your cousin, my son, because I really need him to be safe. Like, I love him and I need him to be safe. And the cousin says, well, sure, absolutely, I can do that. And so for about a week, he is their constant companions. Like, they're sharing a room. He doesn't let him out of his sight. And he doesn't let him out of his sight because William got upset and went down the street and went in the back door of one of his neighbor's houses. When he did that, he freaked the ladies out, as anybody would be freaked out. Here comes this stranger through your back door, even if it's somebody you know, if they're a bit unstable, and that's not the best thing, right? So they come in. He goes in through the back door. They call his physician, who is his friend, and the physician can't get him to go home. So they end up having to call the police, and they end up taking him home. Well, he's very upset. In this week, what has happened is that William had a pew-pew, if you know what I mean, and he was threatening to use that to hurt himself. And so what happened is that mom saw that. She took the pew-pew, she hid it. He's now gone down the street, he's broken to the neighbor's house, he's been brought back. Now it's really kind of intensifying that we really need to safeguard him. That's what's going on in this family is, or from outside appearances at this moment, is we need to safeguard him. We've got to keep him where he doesn't do anything to himself. This is where I think the drama comes in. So there is a newspaper article because William passed away on January let me go back over here. I'm sorry. He passed away on the 31st of December, 1899. He was 43 years old. He comes in, he says he's tired. He goes, he takes a nap. He gets up, he said, and his cousin says, where are you going? He says, I'm going to go talk to my mom for a minute. He goes in, he tells his mom all of his business, like where all of his bank accounts are, all of the business that he has, personal and professional. I'm assuming some professional. I don't know that from the newspaper article. And then he goes back to his room. He tells his cousin, I'm tired. He takes something off the mantle. He lays down and he pulls the sheets up over his head. Cousin says, I heard him snoring. He was just in there snoring. No big deal, right? Absolutely. Should not have been a big deal. But it ended up being a big deal because not 30 minutes later, his cousin reports that he unalived himself. And he unalived himself with a straight razor. So back then, men didn't have like the Gillette disposable razors, wasn't available. So they had these long razors that were like a straight edge. I think guys nowadays can get those at barbershops if you request them. I think they're still available. So anyways, he has used that. Only his spine is the only thing holding all of this part from this part, holding it together. That's all that's left. And that's where the drama comes in. Because I think there was an unaliving there that maybe wasn't self-inflicted. I'm not so sure that Self did unalive him. You know, he didn't unalive himself, basically. I think I think he was the victim based on it. Hi, Xenia. I'm so glad you're back. Do you want me to go through the story again? If Addicted to Gaming doesn't mind and everybody doesn't mind, I'm happy to go through it again. I do have the newspaper article up and can go over it again. But, okay, so I'm going to go back over it so Xenia can get up to speed on everything. So Mr. Furman moves to Nashville, sets up dry goods. He gets to 83, he has a stroke. When he has his stroke, the way that they describe William is that William, I think, is on the autistic spectrum. It's described that he's not social with people his own age. He is very social with children. He does really well in kind of playing with kids and enjoying games and just kind of hanging out with them. He likes animals, and he would prefer to sleep in the stable versus the house. So a lot of times folks that are on the autistic spectrum, from the research that I've been able to do, thank you, I appreciate y'all being kind. I actually was a teacher. I was a school counselor in a former life. Not now, but I was. So he liked animals, and from what I know, folks on the autistic spectrum, they tend to connect with animals and children more than they connect with other humans. It's just a social interaction issue, and a mental issue. So that we know that he had a mental disorder. So what I was telling them is, when William Dolbert, no, this is the Furman family. So William, he is not doing well after I feel like I'm blundering it, but you're very kind. William, you're good. So William is not doing well with his dad's death because he's having these mental issues. He's just not doing well. So what has happened, and what I had told them is, what has happened is that he has actually gone down the street. How far down the street, it doesn't say. So I don't know if the neighbors knew him really well or not. I'm going to say not, because it says that he went down the street, went in the back door, and he just absolutely freaked the neighbors out. The ladies of the house were like, I'm sorry, and why are you in my house? And so they called, but they knew him enough. They couldn't have been completely oblivious to who he was, because they knew him enough to call his personal physician. Personal physician was a friend, could not get him to go home. So they had to call the police to get him home. At this point, Mom knows that things are not going well and she's got to have help. So she calls her brother and her nephew to come over. She asks her nephew to keep up with her son, because he is just really not coping well, and he is starting to talk about some self-harm. So she knows he needs safeguard. The whole family knows that he needs safeguard. This all occurs within a week. All of this goes down in a week's time. So what happens at that point is that Mom finds that he has a pew-pew. She finds it. She knows he's been talking about self-harm, so she takes it, she hides it. She reinforces, we've really got to keep him safe. Mom, however, is not able to take care of him because she has been an invalid with her own illness where she can't get out of bed for 3 years now. So she's got to have the help. So what happens is that her nephew is supposed to be watching over her son. Her son takes a nap, gets up. Her nephew says, well, where are you going? Because we just know we just had this issue down the street. And he says, I'm just going to go talk to my mom. And Mom, then he goes in, he gives his mom a kiss on the cheek. He talks to his mom about all of his personal business, where his bank accounts are, any business he had going on, all of this kind of stuff. All this is going on. And Mom's thinking, okay, this is just part of it. He's just making sure I know where everything is, most likely because there's these conversations going on at home. There are conversations now because Mom is the executress of Dad's estate. There are some conversations I'm sure that William is privy to. So she's thinking probably at this point, no big deal. He's just trying to make sure I know where things are. I know that he's freaked out because Dad has passed away. I know that he has these issues mentally, and therefore he's also really worried about me because I've got this medical condition. He's now really worried about my passing. So she's grieving. She's really having to, he is 43 at this time. He's just 43 years old. So she's got all this going on at once. Well, her nephew, constant companion, I'm assuming that because Mom is an invalid, and there's more drama with that, but Mom is an invalid, that they, I lost my train of thought, y'all. I'm so sorry. But because Mom, you're very sweet. Because Mom is not able to deal with all this, I've got to assume that her nephew is in the room when all this business is being discussed. Because otherwise, I don't know how the press got any of this information. I'm sure there were gossips back then, and let me tell you, you can see some of the gossip in the newspaper. It is insane. So we've got this going on. William tells mom all the stuff that he needs to tell her. He says he's tired. He's going to go lay down. This is not uncommon for when you're depressed. If you know anything, if you've ever been depressed, you absolutely want to lay down. You don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to be around anybody. You just want to go lay down and be still, not be bothered. This makes perfect sense to me. Yes, exactly. Me too. If you're depressed, you got to go through all that. I'm sorry. You were saying me too the other. I'm sorry. Forgive me. So anyways, he goes and lays down. Cousin says, well, the cousin is now reporting after what I'm about to tell you. He says, well, he went and laid down. You're 10. He went and laid down. He pulled the covers over his head and he was snoring. Cousin says he was snoring. Well, after that, a little while later, he realized that he wasn't snoring anymore. He was making some noises that he shouldn't have been making. And he went and looked, and unfortunately, he says that William unalived himself. I don't believe that that's really what happened based on the description. And since you're 10, I'm not getting into the description with you on that one because I think that's maybe a little graphic. But the cousin says that he did something bad to, he unalived himself. However, the way that it happened, I don't think it could have happened. I don't think an adult could do that to themselves. I just don't. So what I think we have happening here is that the cousin killed her son. That's really what I think happened, and he was never held accountable for it. It's okay. 10-year-olds have phones. It's part of their social life. Social media is everything to them, and that's okay. So after this, I think the next part of drama that makes me question all of it is because after all this happens, y'all, stay with me here. After all this happens, they basically isolate mom. Mom then passes away in April. After that, there's a huge court case. And what happens is that her brother and her nephew contest the will that she set up. And what that means is that they said, nope, she didn't make it. Nope, she didn't write it. And she wasn't of sound mind and she couldn't have done it. And she didn't have a good memory. And so therefore she didn't know what she was doing. And this never could have happened. And they filed suit against the people who she set up, that mom set up as the executors of her estate, and against Vanderbilt University, because she left all her money to a gravestone. And that gravestone in today's money would have cost $750,000. And she left all the rest of her money to Vanderbilt University. And I believe the uncle and the nephew wanted the money. There were millions, what would be considered millions today. If we took and we converted money from 1800 to 2024, what we're ending up with are millions of dollars. So there's a huge court battle. We'll go over that next week. But I really think that we had some dirty things going on here. And so that is what I came to discuss. So, what do y'all think? Quite the drama, don't you agree? Hello, Hoosier. Yes, I understand what your name says. I'm not oblivious, but I'm not going there. How are you today? Yeah, it's quite a bit of drama, and it's really sad because, in my mind, it's really sad because mom not only lost her husband and the love of her life, but then lost, good, I'm glad you're good today, then lost her child as well. And then was left isolated from her friends because of her brother and what they decided for her. It's just really sad. It's also a bit shocking to me. So in the 1800s, they would have these things called, they had basically a death jury is what they called them. And what that was they had a group of men. It is really sad. They had a group of men that would come out, and if there was any suspicious death, they would if there was any suspicious death, they would come in, they would look at the scene, they would look at the evidence, kind of like a coroner or like the investigators nowadays, and they would decide and deem whether or not it needed to be investigated more, or if it was just a natural course of death. The other thing that I think probably played into this is that they were such an affluent family. They really were. And because they were such an affluent family, just like today, with people with money, things get swept under the rug. You know, they're just like, shh, don't talk about that. I think that happens a lot. So, you know, unfortunately, I think in the case of this in the 1800s, what we had was a case where that intersected, that money intersected with a wrongdoing. And because there didn't need to be bad publicity about it or bad press about it, because in the 1800s, they were so cliquish, y'all. Like, if you didn't get married, if you did this, if you did that, the social rules completely different, especially when we're talking about 1900s, late 1800s, because we're right on the cusp. I mean, just like what happened when we went from 1999 to 2000. And yes, I'm old enough. I was here when that happened. Just like with that, it was a big deal. I'm sure it was just as big a deal when they went from 1899 to 1900, but the social rules so very different. So this is what I came to discuss tonight and to kind of tell you all about. It is quite the story. There are lots of other stories that I have found online that I will go over. I also plan to share some, if you guys want to keep going around my page, I post up quite a bit. And these are the facts. Yep, these are the facts from then. There were so many stories that went on back in the 1800s, and they are not, if you ever get a hold of an 1800s newspaper, they don't hold back. Not like today. Today, there's a big push and a big movement to not tell you why anybody passed away or how they passed away. Back then, no, they're going to tell you in detail. It leaves it behind. It also allows us to see into the past a little more clearly. So, anyways, I hope you guys are having a great night. I'm going to get off of here. I appreciate you guys coming back after the first onslaught of the mean people. I've got to go find the lady that said, hey, I just followed you from TikTok. I am over on TikTok, by the way, if you guys want to follow me there. But I have so many stories over there, y'all. And I did get all of those downloaded before that last blackout. So I will slowly be releasing them over here on this platform. But I'm glad you're having a good night. You don't have TikTok? Well, I am here. I'm on IG. You know, I don't do politics. I'm sorry. I'm not a political person. That's not my thing. You're not allowed. That's fair. There's some things over there that maybe in a few years. That's fair. You do have Snapchat. I don't have a Snapchat. I'm sorry. Not for the stories beneath. I don't. The only thing I know how to do on Snapchat is to make hilarious photographs with all of their filters. I like Snapchat. I just don't have one for this. Maybe I can look into that. I don't know how long the videos over there can be. Maybe I can figure that out. I know there's a way over there now that you can put up videos, I think, where they stay. I'll have to look into that. I am in Tennessee, is where I am. I'm from the Middle Tennessee area. Right now I'm in East Tennessee. I actually like my state. Where are you from, Pixel? I'm also going to give you guys, I bought a little like microphone to use with the phone. I've got to get that to work. I haven't gotten it to work yet. So, and I was planning to do a webcam and to be able to share my screen with you. Like New Mexico? Like where the aliens are? Cool. And you're English, thanks for the ask. Are you in England? Is that what that means? Where in England? Anyways, so back to the other. I will have a webcam. Hopefully I'll be able to stream across all the channels all at once where the first alien landed. Yep, I've heard about that. And I'll be able to share my screen next week. I have some things to show you guys. Like, I can show you some of it. Just no judgment about the fact my house is under construction, so it doesn't look beautiful at the moment. My office area is completely under construction. So when Francis first came here, by Pixel, he bought a company along with a couple other gentlemen. And this was the article that he put in the newspaper announcing that he had bought that company for you guys to see. Oh, you have a story of your grandma and an alien or a cemetery? Oh, with the first alien. She was part of those. She was around when the first alien landed, huh? Well, you need to talk to your parents, and then maybe you can tell her story if she gives you permission. So she went to the store. So she saw the first alien. Are you still there? Oh, there you are. A tall figure was following her. And it was the alien. Okay. So he was a gray alien then. I think they're the tall ones, right? Be nice. And there are no giraffes in the United States outside of zoos. It kept walking with her. It was behind her. Okay. Okay. Is it Hamodi? Is that how you pronounce it? Hamodi? Well, that's a cool story. I'm sure that scared her very badly. Yep. Yeah. At the same time, she talks to nothing when she's mad and says, "Get out of my house." Yeah. She may just be having a moment, sweetheart. Sometimes adults just have a moment. Try not to let it bother you, okay? That's right. It happens sometimes. You're fine. You're fine. I hope you guys have a great night. And if you want to hear some more of this story, I will be live again next Sunday. Maybe you can catch me then. Bye. Have a good night.